Okay, welcome to this research forum on ageing, jointly hosted by the Local Government Professionals Age-Friendly Communities Network and UWA. We have a terrific lineup of speakers, over 20 researchers presenting from all of the 5 WA universities, so we're really pleased with the response. It was a very positive response, and we're delighted to be able to offer such a full program. My name is Loretta Baldassar. I'm a professor in the discipline group of Anthropology and Sociology here at UWA, and I'll be your MC and chair for the day. Before we begin the proceedings, though, I'd like to acknowledge and pay respect to the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet, the Whadjuk Noongar people, and pay respect to their elders, past, present, and into the future. We had hoped to have a formal welcome to country, but I think school holidays thwarted our plans a bit. So instead, I thought I'd play this wonderful song, Amazing Grace, performed in 2015 by 2 iconic Australian voices, Paul Kelly, who's now in his 60s and going strong, and Dr. Yunupingu, who tragically passed away in July this year at the age of 46. Many of you will know Dr. Yunupingu, an Indigenous Australian musician who sang many songs both in English and in his Yolngu language. He was born in Elcho Island off the coast of Arnhem Land, about 580 k's from Darwin. Born blind, never learned Braille, did not have a guide dog or use a white cane, said to be acutely shy, but played the drums, keyboards and guitar. A right-handed guitar, played left-handed, and didgeridoo. But it's the clarity, the beauty of his vocal repertoire that really drew most rave reviews. Now, usually we begin discussions about ageing by noting how we are all getting older and living longer, and that's why ageing is such a critical issue for us today. But I thought it was appropriate to begin today's event with this song and story to highlight the life expectancy gap between Indigenous Australians and non-Indigenous Australians, which even in 2016, the stats showed it's still a decade. It's still a decade. So Indigenous males born between 2010 and 2012 have a life expectancy of 69 years, which is a full decade less than non-Indigenous counterparts. And this is 10 years after the Closing the Gap campaign. So in the absence of a formal welcome, I thought the acknowledgement of country should come with an acknowledgement of this gap, and it's an issue that we may return to in the discussions today. But of course, we have many issues which we will be exploring through the course of the day. And before we do begin the program, I have several important people who've come to welcome us to the event. And the first one is Christine Young, the chair of the Local Government Professionals Age-Friendly Network and my co-host. Christine is extremely well known for her pioneering role in WA local government age-friendly work, and it's been wonderful to get to know you, Christine, and to collaborate more closely, research and local government. Christine has been involved right from the start of age-friendly in WA and has helped to make WA a national leader and a global leader in age-friendly planning. In fact, in June this year, the Government of WA became an affiliate member of the World Health Organization Global Network of Age-Friendly Cities and Communities, and WA is the only Australian state or territory with this status, and this achievement rests in no small part on Christine's commitment to this work. So thank you, Christine.
Thank you, Loretta. I just wanted to say a few words and to welcome people here to this forum. This was a topic that we identified last year at a planning session that we had with the Local Government Professionals Network, and we realised and recognised that in lots of places around the world there's a really close working relationship and collaborative relationship with the academic research sector and municipalities or state and local governments around age-friendly. And that sort of piece of work was missing a bit in Western Australia, so we're really delighted and very thankful that UWA are hosting this event today. And it's really a first for Perth, bringing together a wealth of information from different researchers I did want to thank Professor Loretta Baldassar and her team for really working tirelessly to pull this together, which was a great feat, and also to thank all the individual researchers that have been going to be part of this session today. So thank you and welcome.
Thank you, Christine. It was actually easier than I thought to get the researchers involved. Everybody we invited said yes, put their hand up straight away, which was really great. Next, I'd like to invite Professor Matthew Tonts to deliver a welcome from UWA. Professor Tonts was recently appointed Pro-Vice-Chancellor and Executive Dean of UWA's newly formed Faculty of Arts, Business, Law and Education, big job, and also Executive Dean, prior to this, Matthew was head of School of Earth and Environment and the director of the Institute for Regional Development, and he also holds the position of Professor of Geography in the Faculty of Science. Extraordinary set of roles. But I did want to mention that Professor Tonts' research is broadly situated with the field of economic geography and regional development, and you're no stranger to working with local government and communities. In 2008, Professor Tonts helped lead the formation of a unique research partnership between UWA and the community for Perth, and this partnership has now produced over 60 high-impact reports focused on the changing economic, social and demographic characteristics of the Perth metropolitan region, and this, I presume, led on in 2010 to a similar partnership with non-metro local governments in Western Australia to address regional policy concerns. So welcome, Matthew. Thank you.
Thanks, Loretta. I'd not realised. I'm feeling rather fatigued this morning, and now I realise why. I'm trying to do too much. But welcome everybody to the university. It's great to see a mixture of people from all of our universities and from the local government sector and also elsewhere. I think these sorts of events are fabulous in terms of bringing those groups together to address really quite complicated problems. And of course, I think the sort of demographic shift that we're seeing in terms of an ageing population is not just a profound question for Western Australia or for Perth, but of course across Australia, and is also a global phenomenon. And as Loretta pointed out, some of my own research has dealt predominantly with regional development, and thinking about this event last night, I went back and delved through some data that I'd worked on in the Wheatbelt region of Western Australia. And it's kind of an interesting region because it's one of the most rapidly ageing regions in Australia, in fact. And I decided to just pick out the data from one community to just kind of give you an insight into what that community is experiencing. And the community is Beverley. So it's a lovely small town just on the other side of the Scarp, population of about 1,100 people, traditional agricultural community. In 1996, Beverley had a median age of 39. In 2016, it's 54. So it's gone from 39 to 54. 30% of its population is now over 65. That compares with Western Australia at about 14% over 65. So you can see for that small rural community, there's significant changes that are occurring there. But I think there's an interesting flip side of that as well, and that is between the ages of 15 and 30, only 10% of Beverley's population are in that age group. And of course that has all sorts of really quite significant questions, I think, that emerge as around not only the standard kind of items such as economic development and infrastructure and services, but also around social interaction, around the viability of institutions and all of the things that make life important. Excuse me. I think we also need, though, in thinking about a place like Beverley, be a little bit cautious about problematising ageing. And I think I hear too often that, you know, ageing is a drain on the economy, you know, that it's a problem for the workforce, that the dependency ratio is out of control and all of these sorts of things. Instead of acknowledging that ageing is kind of the new normal, it is the demographic new normal. So we need to embrace it, I think, as part of what we are and so on. What I think is particularly interesting, though, in my work has been observing the role of local governments, and that is that local governments at the pointy end of all significant demographic shifts, whether they're the loss of young people from rural communities, whether the shift in the age structure within the Perth metropolitan area, whether it's the delivery of services, the provision of basic infrastructure and so on. So to me, the program today really is important in that it provides a really great opportunity to explore all of those diverse sorts of issues. And in many respects, you'll probably only scratch the surface today, but the great opportunity is to sort of deepen the relationship between the universities and local government to explore those things in much greater detail. So I hope you find the day rewarding. I hope that something interesting comes of it for you. I'm certainly looking forward to hearing about the outcomes of this. So good luck with the rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Matthew. That's lovely. Our next speaker is Mr. Stuart Clark, who's the Acting Interim Assistant Director General of the new Department of Communities. And Stuart also has been heavily involved in local government sector, has over 25 years of experience in the WA public sector, working as an economist, business analyst, policy officer and senior manager with the Department of Minerals and Energies, and a host of other departments. But I will just mention that in the new Department of Communities, Stuart's interests include social impact measurement, homelessness, and the development of the community housing sector. He holds a Master of Economics from UWA, and was the prize winner for the top student in the leading public sector change unit recently. So congratulations, Stuart. Thank you for coming and welcoming us.
Thank you. Look, this morning I'm representing the Department of Communities, all 6,000 plus staff of the new monster that is the Department of Communities, particularly the Strategy and Policy Unit, so standing in for Scott Hollingworth, who's the Interim Assistant Director General. So you can't get more temporary than that. And that just shows the sort of nature of where we're at as a Department of Communities. We're trying to bolt things together to start with, and then smooth the edges and understand how we actually work together. So the question is, what is this new department, and how does it relate to the work that you guys are doing? I think there's three concepts that I'd like to share with you just to kick off the day. One of them is care. So over this last month or two, I've been involved in executive committee, corporate executive discussions, and at the heart and the foundation of this new Department of Communities is this concept of care. Shared duty of care. Now, it's not a duty of care in a sense that we've got a legal responsibility. It goes well beyond that. It's care enough to understand the characteristics and needs of vulnerable people in our community in particular. Care enough to do something about it. And care enough to do something about it cleverly. Cleverly being actually joined up. So this amalgamation of a whole stack of departments, disability services, child protection, I've got to list them off and read them, housing, youth justice, community initiatives and regional services reform, partridge in a pear tree, is really an attempt to get that collective action structurally. But really at the heart of it is the behaviour that we're looking for, and it comes from that sense of a shared duty of care. The other concept I'd like to just share with you is the concept of action, actually doing something. And I've been skilled up just recently about the department's contribution and continuing commitment, particularly through the department's Age-Friendly Communities Grants program. A stack of money, $680,000 since 2006, really catalysing that age-friendly thinking and approach. And I really commend the department in its previous form and its current form for making that commitment. That's one part of the action. The other part is really trying to understand what the decision-making process is for people thinking about age-friendly activities. And getting involved in that. That's something the department I think is going to be continuing to be involved in, as you said. The international recognition is going to help with that. It happens right across different levels of government as well, and that's something interesting when we're talking about collaborative action. We've got various layers of government that we're working with, obviously from local government through to state, federal and international. The last one I'd like to leave you with is the concept of legacy. So last night we got ourselves a new television in our family, and of course you've got to test it out, and that's why I'm a bit blurry-eyed this morning. And the movie we put on there was Interstellar. So fairly fanciful sort of science fiction movie, wormholes and, travelling to the ends of the universe. But the concepts were really basic to our existence. The concepts of survival, of transcending thinking, and thinking beyond our current boundaries, our intellectual boundaries, our emotional boundaries, and scientific boundaries. And what legacy are we leaving? So what are we actually leaving our kids? What are we leaving our species? And asking ourselves the question, what have we left in the world when we move on? So for today, I think that's a really good way of introducing a plethora of topics. Is what is it going to be that's going to come out of this? The legacy that each of you are going to leave by sharing your work and your concepts. It's a massive program, so I'll get out of the way of it. It seems like a TED Talk marathon, and I understand it's going to be videoed, which is fantastic. I won't be able to stay, but there is Robin Teed and others from the department here, and they'll be furiously writing down and sharing it with us. So good luck today, and look forward to the collective action and the work that comes out of this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stuart. I think care, action and legacy are really excellent principles for the day. I mean, we're hoping that this will facilitate perhaps some research collaborations between universities and local governments and other service providers and people in the sector of ageing. We don't just have local government development officers in the audience, we also have people more broadly from aged care and age-related services. So that is, hopefully one of the aims. But speakers only have 10 minutes, 10 minutes to present their ideas and 5 minutes for discussion. So it really is just a tapas tasting event, and we're hoping that you'll be able to follow up, maybe invite those speakers back to your events for a longer, more leisurely conversation. And it is very difficult, I know, especially for myself, to present all of your ideas in 10 minutes. So we'll see how that goes.